Hollywood loves a good plot twist, but Wesley Snipes' real-life love story might be better than anything on the big screen. When he fell for a Korean artist far removed from the spotlight, their relationship became a story of love, resilience, and blending cultures. Together, they built a life away from the Hollywood glare, raising 4 children who've sparked endless curiosity with their unique lives and heritage. Are they the living proof of an incredible union, or something altogether different? Let's find out. But before we get into those revelations, we must first look at the events that led to their union. Wesley Snipes was born to a teacher's assistant and an aircraft engineer in Orlando, Florida. His early years took him to the Bronx, New York, where his passion for acting ignited. At just 13, he was accepted into a prestigious performing arts school in New York. But just as his dreams were taking shape, life threw a curveball. His family relocated back to Florida. To make matters worse, on his very last day in New York, he received a phone call from a prominent theater producer inviting him to join an upcoming musical. The timing couldn't have been more unfortunate. Back in Florida, things didn't get any easier. Snipes learned that the film fame was being shot at his old school, and many of his former classmates were involved. That had to sting. But Snipes wasn't one to wallow. In high school, he was voted most talented and later pursued acting in college. His perseverance paid off in 1986 when he landed his first movie role in Wildcats. While the film didn't leave much of a mark, it paved the way for bigger opportunities. One of those opportunities was a role in Michael Jackson's Bad music video, directed by none other than Martin Scorsese. Snipes got the part over Prince, a fact he proudly shared years later. The video showcased his charisma and talent, solidifying his place in the entertainment world. Around the same time, Snipes appeared in Spike Lee's 18-minute short film Mo' Better Blues, playing the villain. Off-screen, he served as Lee's informal bodyguard during filming in Harlem, playfully asserting himself as the real tough guy in the duo. Snipes' breakout role came in the 1989 film Major League, where he stole the show as Willie Mays Hayes. His performance caught Hollywood's attention, and soon he was in high demand. By the time Major League 2 came around, Snipes had outgrown the franchise, opting to pursue bigger projects instead. His decision didn't sit well with some, but it's hard to argue with the results. His career skyrocketed with New Jack City in 1991, where he delivered a powerful performance as drug lord Nino Brown. The film became a cultural phenomenon, launching the careers of Chris Rock and showcasing Ice-T's acting chops. Over the next few years, Snipes delivered hits like White Men Can't Jump and Jungle Fever, cementing his place as one of Hollywood's leading men. Even as his star rose, Snipes was vocal about Hollywood's lack of diversity. He refused to be typecast and spoke out against the industry's tendency to reduce black actors to stereotypical roles. He wanted to show that black characters could be complex, multifaceted, and more than just criminals or sidekicks. His frustration with systemic bias wasn't just professional, it was personal. In 1991, Snipes had a harrowing encounter with police while driving a company car. He was detained, handcuffed, and humiliated, an experience he later described as deeply scarring. His arrest highlighted the racial injustices black men faced, even those who had achieved fame and success. Many in the industry, including actor Blair Underwood, pointed out that someone like Tom Cruise would never have been treated the same way. Despite his early successes, Snipes' career took a hit when some of his action films like Passenger 57 and Boiling Point failed to impress critics, and things were about to get even worse. However, before that, Wesley Snipes seemed to be on the rise again after starring alongside Sylvester Stallone in Demolition Man. But things started to take a turn. Movies like Sugar Hill, Drop Zone, and Money Train didn't perform well, and his career began to lose momentum. Around this time, Snipes had another brush with the law, this time after a motorcycle accident. He was cited for carrying a concealed weapon when police found a loaded gun on him. Charged with 2 misdemeanors, he was sentenced to 2 years of probation and a fine. Unlike his past encounters, Snipes wasn't fazed. noting that the police were just doing their job. His reputation took a major hit in 1994 when he led a Florida state trooper on a high-speed motorcycle chase. According to the Orlando Sentinel, the scene was pure chaos. Snipes tore past a trooper at over 120 miles per hour, sparking a 30-mile pursuit that involved multiple police agencies. About 10 miles into the chase, he briefly slowed down, just long enough to toss something off his bike, before speeding up again. Even police helicopters struggled to keep up. The chase finally ended when Snipes crashed on an exit ramp near Jupiter, Florida. A trailing police car collided with his motorcycle, deploying the officer's airbag. Snipes was thrown from the bike but miraculously walked away with no serious injuries and refused medical care. When confronted, Snipes reportedly asked the officer, "Don't you know who I am?" The officer, unimpressed, ordered him to the ground. His publicist later explained that Snipes had been visiting family in Orlando and was returning to Key Largo, where he was filming Drop Zone. Snipes claimed he didn't realize police were chasing him, insisting he was just pulling over for gas when he crashed. Officers found a small bag of substance during the chase but couldn't prove it belonged to him. Ultimately, Snipes pleaded guilty to reckless driving. He was sentenced to 80 hours of community service, paid a fine, and gave lectures on AIDS awareness at a local college. As part of his punishment, he also participated in a mock murder trial for a summer program, an unforgettable moment for the kids who found themselves watching Blade himself on the witness stand. At this point, Snipes' career seemed to be in free fall. Legal troubles piled up, and his films failed to make an impact. But then, everything changed when he landed the role of Blade. Before superhero movies were the box office powerhouses they are today, Wesley Snipes took on the role of the half-human, half-vampire warrior. Without the support of a big-name co-star, Blade became a surprise hit, earning over $131 million worldwide. While critics were lukewarm, audiences loved it. The film spawned 2 sequels and solidified Wesley Snipes as a major action star. After the success of Blade, Wesley Snipes finally got the recognition he deserved for his hard work, even in the movies that didn't perform as well. On August 21, 1998, he was honored with his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It was a defining moment in his career. Unfortunately, things started to go downhill for Snipes after that high point. He made some questionable movie choices, got tangled in legal troubles, and found himself making headlines for all the wrong reasons. As the 21st century began, the challenges seemed to outweigh the triumphs for the once rising star. He produced and starred in The Art of War, but the film failed to leave much of an impression. While Blade 2, directed by Guillermo del Toro, gave his career a brief boost, subsequent projects like Zigzag and Undisputed struggled to find an audience. Then came Blade Trinity, widely regarded as the weakest entry in the series. After its release, Snipes sued New Line Cinema for $5 million, alleging the studio violated his contract, altered the script and cast without his approval, and failed to provide a promised tax break for international payments. He also claimed he faced racist remarks and unfair hiring practices during production. The making of Blade. Trinity was notoriously chaotic. Actor Patton Oswalt later described it as a very troubled production. Reports about Snipes' on-set behavior painted a tense atmosphere. He allegedly refused to leave his trailer, smoked heavily, and clashed with director David Goyer. In one incident, Snipes reportedly accused Goyer of racism over a t-shirt worn by another actor, sparking a heated confrontation. There were even claims that Snipes attempted to strangle Goyer during an argument. Ryan Reynolds, who co-starred in the film, recalled how Snipes fully embodied his character. Reynolds joked that he only met Blade, not Wesley. Despite Snipes' serious demeanor, Reynolds tried to lighten the mood with pranks, though never anything too bold. Reynolds later revealed that much of his dialogue was improvised, as Snipes wasn't always present on set. These improvised moments inadvertently helped shape the personality of Reynolds' future Deadpool character. Snipes, however, denied many of the allegations about his behavior, dismissing them as false. Still, tensions were undeniable. At one point, Snipes reportedly told Goyer to quit, prompting the director to suggest they finish the movie using a body double. Following that exchange, Snipes communicated with Goyer only through post-it notes, signing each one from Blade. In recent years, Wesley Snipes hasn't landed many major roles. He's appeared in smaller films like Armed Response and The Recall, where his performances were solid, but the projects failed to make waves. His role in The Expendables 3 brought him some attention, and he earned praise for playing Cyclops in Spike Lee's Chirac, which stands out as his most notable recent work. But while Wesley Snipes may not be the box office powerhouse he once was, there's one thing he values above all else: his family. You see, Wesley Snipes has been married twice. His first marriage was to April Snipes, and together they have a son named Jelani. Jelani even had a small role in his dad's movie Mo Better Blues. While it's unclear how they first met, Wesley began dating Nak Young Park in 1997, 7 years after his divorce from April and during the height of his acting career. Nak Young Park, or Nikki as she's often called, is the daughter of Park Cheol, a renowned South Korean director who created some of the most popular TV shows in the 80s and 90s for Munhwa Broadcasting Corporation. Born and raised in Seoul, Nikki showed an early passion for art, starting her first art class at just 5 years old in her neighbor's garage. Her first creation? A sunflower in oil pastel. Whether she paints for herself or shares her work more widely isn't entirely clear, but Nikki is known for her creativity. She's a painter, graphic designer, and skilled makeup artist. Some of her work can even be spotted on her Instagram, though her account isn't officially verified. After dating for about 6 years, Wesley and Nikki decided to tie the knot. Their wedding was a simple courthouse ceremony in Hackensack, New Jersey on March 17, 2003. Reportedly, Nikki gave Wesley an ultimatum: marry her, or she was leaving. They were already living together at the time, and Wesley chose marriage. They've been together ever since, and their strong bond has stood the test of time. Wesley has described Nikki as his best friend and confidant, even calling her the most important person in his life. Together, they have 4 children, and their family life has clearly had a big impact on Wesley. He shared how fatherhood influenced his performance as General Izzy in Coming to America, saying his children inspired the humor and joy in his portrayal. Wesley didn't just draw inspiration from his family for the film, he included them in it too. All 5 of his children made cameo appearances in Coming to America. He encouraged viewers to look for them, saying, "See if you can spot them." While Wesley is open about how much his family means to him, Nikki prefers to keep their children out of the public eye as much as possible. Still, one fun detail about their kids is that all of their names include the letter T. No one knows exactly why they made this choice, but it's a charming mystery that adds a little more intrigue to their family story. Wesley Snipes and his wife Nikki welcomed their eldest child Akhenaten in 2000. While they've kept their family life mostly private, the name Akhenaten stands out. It's inspired by the ancient Egyptian pharaoh who ruled thousands of years ago. They also have a daughter, Iset Juati, whose name translates to princess in ancient Egyptian. Despite staying tight-lipped about his personal life, Wesley has shown he's a devoted dad. He once shared a heartfelt video about fathers protecting their children, saying that for him every day is Father's Day. Wesley and Nikki had a terrifying close call on 9/11. They were supposed to be in their Manhattan apartment that day, but Nikki, pregnant with their daughter Iset, wasn't cleared to travel. So they stayed in Los Angeles, which ultimately saved their lives. Their apartment was completely destroyed in the attacks. Wesley later said that when he saw the news, he looked at his newborn daughter and called her a lifesaver. The couple got married in 2003 and welcomed their first son together, Alafia, a year later. Alafia is a beautiful Arabic name meaning peace. Then in 2007, Wesley and Nikki had another son, Alimayu, whose Ethiopian name means "in honor of God." Despite their efforts to shield their children from the public eye, life took a difficult turn after Alimayu's birth. In 2008, Wesley was sentenced to 3 years in prison for tax fraud. A man named Eddie Ray Kahn convinced Wesley and others to set up fake non-profit organizations to avoid taxes, even advising them to send fake checks to the IRS. Wesley followed the bad advice, creating a fake religious organization and trying to claim a large tax refund. While some believe he was misled, it's hard to ignore the risks of such a scheme. Before heading to prison, Wesley Snipes tried to postpone his sentence until after the holidays. With 4 young children at home, one of them, Alamayu, just 4 years old, he asked the court for extra time so he could spend the season with his family, emphasizing how seriously he took his role as a father. However, the court denied his request, and he had to begin serving his sentence as scheduled. Even behind bars, financial troubles seemed to follow him. In 2011, American Express sued Wesley for nearly $30,000, claiming he owed the amount and should also cover their legal fees. The situation carried an ironic twist. Years earlier, Wesley starred in Major League and even appeared in an American Express commercial, delivering the iconic line, "Don't steal home without it." After news of the lawsuit made headlines, the case went quiet, leading many to believe it was likely settled out of court, though no confirmation ever came. While Wesley was serving his sentence, his wife, Nikki Park, had to take care of their 5 children on her own. It was a heavy burden, and she reached out to friends and family for support during what she described as an incredibly challenging time. Nikki expressed her shock over the court's decision, calling it a harsh blow to their family. She stood firmly by Wesley's side, describing him as a strong man fighting for his freedom, and assured everyone they would be there to support him every step of the way. In her letter, Nikki criticized the government for using Wesley's fame to make an example of him and accused the media of painting him in a one-sided negative light. She compared the ordeal to a bad movie where the truth was distorted. Despite the pain and difficulty, she remained grateful to those who supported their family. Wesley Snipes served 2.5 years in prison and was finally released in 2013. After Wesley Snipes got out of prison, the IRS hit him with a massive $18 million tax bill. Instead of backing down, he decided to sue the government. He argued that the IRS was inflating the numbers to squeeze as much as they could out of him, completely ignoring their own Fresh Start program, which is supposed to help people get back on their feet. It's hard to imagine how anyone could pay off a bill like that, let alone benefit from it. Wesley has always been the type to own up to his mistakes, and he took full responsibility for his actions. While serving his sentence, he used the time to reflect on his life and make some big changes. He doesn't even call it prison, though. It was a minimum security facility he described more like a camp. His time away taught him the value of freedom and how easy it is to take it for granted. He came out of the experience feeling like a better person, and even years later, he still believes it shaped him for the better. But Wesley isn't one to dwell on the past. He's made it clear that he's focused on moving forward and doesn't want to keep revisiting that chapter of his life. Wesley knows that not everyone in Hollywood has been on his side, and his convictions certainly didn't help his career. But his fans have always stuck by him, appreciating his talent and artistry. Interestingly, his time in prison has even brought him new opportunities. He's been offered plenty of scripts about prison life, joking that people see him as an expert now. At the same time, he's found a new groove in comedy, a genre he's genuinely passionate about. It's a bit of a full-circle moment, considering he started his career in comedy. Wesley's relationship with his family has grown stronger since his release. His wife, Nikki, has always been his rock, standing by him through thick and thin, even during the tough times when he wasn't faithful. These days, Nikki is focused on her art and prefers to stay out of the spotlight, while Wesley is diving into exciting projects in technology and exploring new digital platforms. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, comment, and turn on post notifications to stay updated with our latest content.